Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. And the Call of Duty League is back in business already. So many interesting games today, especially the implications from these onto what roster changes we might see over the coming days and weeks. Very important indeed. Some crazy highlight moments, but the results certainly worthy of discussion. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you're new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. Really upset the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that. Let's dive straight into things then, because as we talked about earlier today, very likely possibility the Neptune was going to come back into the starting team. They would have to play up against the Royal Ravens, though, the team that Ali Cup put number 2 in her power rankings, I think number 3 in probably most people's estimations, but of course a substitute has to come in. Gizmo's back in the UK, I believe, right now due to some kind of personal situation he's dealing with. Hopefully everything works out well over there. But PaulX was a player for London last year, to relatively good success, to be honest. Been sitting in the challenger side for quite some time now, obviously gets an opportunity back to sub into the starting team. The chemistry, as we looked at earlier today, already seemingly there for these guys, as you can see this fantastic image as well, supporting the boys, and PaulX will get one more chance to prove his worth in their match tomorrow up against Los Angeles Thieves, but he certainly did a great job in this one, especially filling in pretty much last minute. He's back, say the subliners about 6 hours or so ago, basically, well, it's Crimsix right here, and you've got Hydra in the background, but anyway, Neptune's back in business, as pretty much we all expected. 0-10 in hardpoint at the time, undefeated at Twitter memes, but yeah, it only got worse for New York subliners as the day continued onwards. Game 1 of Gavutu hardpoint, this is the map that New York subliners played Los Angeles Thieves, pretty much the best team in the game on this map, very close out of the major, but London honestly are on another level. Like, this team, when they're firing all cylinders, is just out of control. Afro, I mean, look at Afro right here. Like, he gets a 3-piece to finish off the game. Subliners just had no chance. He was honestly looked like he was playing pubs at times. PaulX had a great map 1 as well. Like, it honestly is kind of like Paul never left, because he was in this team and had some decent success for a time. But now the London team just has way more talent on it than they did when PaulX was in the squad last year. So that's the thing. Subliners, they can't win a hardpoint to save their lives anyway, especially playing against a team that's just so good at slaying like London is right now. Like, their hardpoint breaks and also their holds and their rotations are pretty good this map as well. Seems like they've been working on that. And then that's the thing, if London start getting better at actually rotating and holding, then they're going to be very difficult to beat in this game mode. And yeah, subliners again, like the slaying just wasn't really there. Again, over the course of this series, Crimsix was really like, apart from Hydra, who had a pretty tough series here, which he can't always do 1.2 and get 3-0'd or whatever. But at Crimsix, I'm pretty sure had the highest engagements, highest damage, like just highest impact it seemed in general for the subliners. Like, I still think Crim looks pretty good at this game, to be honest, when I've seen him play. Just again, Neptune comes back, and at the honeymoon period we thought might happen for this team has basically not existed at all. Like, it's back to business really with Neptune 13 and 21, as you guys can see right here. Maybe you can't see it, I'll make it full screen, but even if I make it full screen, it's not on the screen, so what can I do? You guys can take my word for it. We'll look at the post-game stats here in a second, but once again, it really did seem like Neptune's in this role where he's not really doing all that much damage, not getting many kills, like not getting all that much hill time, like just kind of where Royalty was before. Just doesn't look all that comfortable in this game. Arcitys was talking about the fact that the snakes are in fairness, Zero and crew back in the Splice days in Infinite Warfare, they were the king of the snakes actually when they won Stage 1 playoffs, so he certainly knows how to abuse it. Does feel like to some degree with Cellium taking the snaking to the next level, I guess you could argue over these past couple of months, that other teams have basically decided, okay, well it might be GA'd, but we're just going to do it anyway. Teams are kind of bringing it into the meta again, which is kind of frustrating to watch, but it is what it is at the present time. Subliners start to make a comeback here a little bit in the Search and Destroy, already down 2-1 at this point. Watching this honestly was kind of hilarious, because at this round they should not, well, they won this in the end. Neptune wins the 1v1 against Afro, because Afro gets terrible timing, but you can look at the gunfight right here. Maybe I'll make, okay, full screen just for the one time. But this one was a 4 versus 2 in favor of New York, and somehow they almost threw it away to a 1v1. They threw away another 2 versus 4 later in the game as well. Like, the Search and Destroy honestly all over the place. And the Ravens are pretty good at this map anyway, so if you give them any advantage, they're going to take advantage of it. 6-3 to London, 2-0 in the series. At this point, it feels chalked, because the problem is subliners to win this series now, they have to win a hardpoint, which, well, that's not going to work out all that well, as we will get to that point here in a second. This also, during the break, it was noticed the kind of graphic was wrong, saying that subliners up 2-0, they'd won a hardpoint, but yeah, unfortunately not the case, as we will go on to see. So anyway, Clay puts the slippers on, he wants to get back into business. In fairness, I was, well, kind of impressed to a degree. Like, the communication, when we heard from what New York were kind of sounding like in the comms, it really wasn't pretty, to be honest. Like, the complaining was going on, like, it's kind of what we saw day 1 obviously of this team, or at least day 1 of the kind of regular stage. At the kickoff classic, they looked quite good and got top 4. Since then, it's very much been all downhill. Well, as you guys can see, it goes into this game 3, and Zero starts off so hot. There was a fantastic offensive round win, and as I said, I'm pretty impressed by the fight back New York showed to at least some degree, because they lost the first round, they lost the second round, they then won a crazy offense on round 4, and then took the round 5 as well. So honestly, credit to those guys, made it happen. Sometimes they're pretty hyped here about, the revival that seemed to be coming through. The problem was they had to play a hardpoint next. That didn't work out for them at all. They lose another hardpoint. Like, yeah, it was a Tuscan, it was kind of close, but still, at the end of the day, the result goes goes as expected. Currently now they are 0-12 in hardpoints. I believe they won 3 hardpoints at the Kickoff Classic, but since then, since the actual season has started, they haven't won a single one. 12 losses in a row. That is honestly pretty shambolic. But yeah, what more can you say about this team? We know pretty much they're the worst team in the league right now. Got to be one of the, if not the most disappointing team we've ever seen in CDL history. Maybe even CWL before that history, right? I'm sure there's a list that can be made at some point or another. These are the overall series stats. Afro and Zero having a whale of a time. Both 2 players I picked in my fantasy team. So you guys, if you saw that fantasy squad earlier today, decided to copy it. Maybe you're rolling in the points. But if we look at the New York side, it honestly is the same old story. Crimus 80 kills, most damage on the team, almost the most damage in the lobby. Neptune 60 and 82, 0.73. Clayster kind of a 0.9. But but still the damage just nowhere needs to be seen for these guys. So really just the same old story with this team. And this time Hydra wasn't there to drop a 1.2 to carry them through at least a map or 2. But I mean, still losing to London with a substitute is not ideal. Look, I did expect London to win this series 3-1 even with Paul-X in the team. But just the fact that a team like New York can't get the better of a Raven squad with 2 days of practice with Paul-X, like it just goes to show what a shambolic state they're in right now. These are the overall stats. Even Crone just throwing a dig in, right? +1 SR over the course of it. Not particularly giving all that much credit to the state of New York at the present time, and understandably so. Even the Ravens tweet this out. But you, I'm afraid, are winless, which is certainly the case in hardpoint right now. They did beat Boston at the end of stage 1, but yeah, it's still not been ideal for them since then. This even like New York were kind of getting on the meme game, and understandably, with 0-12 at hardpoint, you're 0-12 at hardpoint so far. Maybe it even gets worse for this team, and what they probably will do if some changes don't come through. That's the question that has been raised. Who is getting dropped next? DeSoto tweet this one out before, well, rather quickly deleting it. But I mean, yeah, still that is a question mark. Something has to give with this roster. Last Sage, after the very first weekends, they dropped Neptune, right? Brought Royalty in, like everyone was going crazy. This stage, well, the first weekend is almost concluded, and, you know, they've got to be considering what happens here, because clearly this roster is not going to work. Like, the kind of honeymoon they tried, it didn't work out. Some words from the players here as well, like as Crim says, sheesh, GG's London, probably the lowest point in my career right now. Don't know what to do to win. Feel bad for Crimsix, right, and the guys, because it did feel like going into the year, this team had an awful lot of potential on paper. Just has not worked out at all, and as he's saying, like, lowest point in my entire career right now, you know, it's tough to see, because since Crim's come into the scene way back in Black Ops 2, he's been on fantastic teams pretty much his entire career. This is the first time that isn't the case. Can he turn it around? I'm sure he can. I'm sure he has the ability to do so. Whether Clayster still on the team when he does turn it around, if he does turn it around, that's another question mark. But still, I think Crim individually is still an alright player on this game. I think he's shown that. But the rest of the squad just not really up to the pace right now. And even as Clay says, nothing is working anymore. Just constant stress and disappointment. Can't play good in any important situations. Lose every crucial 1v1. Absolutely pathetic performance out of me. And I genuinely hate it. Difficult to see from Clay. I feel bad for the guy. I mean, look, I hope he can turn it around. Hope this team can turn it around, because we want more competition at the top. We thought this team was going to be one of them that was going to be able to do so. Hasn't worked out so far. I'm sure these guys need to have a think about what they're going to do with this roster going forward, because I still think individually as players they can potentially make something happen. Just on this roster, doesn't seem like it's going to work right now. Let's dive into the second series of the day then. Boston Bridge, obviously very much intriguing your thoughts down below on what New York should do, because we've talked about it for quite some time. As I said earlier today, I don't really think now is the perfect time to make some sort of blockbuster move, but one of those guys you might have to put to the bench, right, just to see how things go with some other options. There's players out there in challenges, right? Paul-X comes in and kind of fries today for London. Like, there's these guys out there that are available. It does feel like New York needs some sort of significant change of personnel. This Boston series was pretty ridiculous up against Seattle Surge, so I kind of expected, okay, maybe Seattle bounce back here, they win this one in a 3-2, but honestly, I mean, Methods did nothing game one. The rest of the guys were fully on display on Gavutu. Pretty sure Pred had, like, 7 kills, or at some point he was like 6 in 16 or something. He was having a torrid time, no doubt, but oh well, he manages to turn it around, especially in the map 3 we'll look at here in a second. Game 2 is another very dominant one for the Boston Breach, and I was kind of surprised at this point as Joey Nubsy tweeted out, it's like I never left, right? He's basically saying, look, it's the same old Seattle. Started off the season so well, completely fell off a cliff, it seems, since their great performance at the Kickoff Classic. And, I mean, yeah, they do win the game 3 in the end. But, I mean, yeah, still at the start of this game 2, Capstor was making plays. He continued to make these plays into the game 4. We'll have a look at that here in a second. But, yeah, Seattle Surge have completely disappeared. These guys seem nowhere near the pace. Like, their star power has fallen off, and accuracy isn't really there to pick up the slack as Zero was in some of the series for London at the, of course, the Major 1 playoffs. They do stay alive in fairness to them here in the controller. Crazy round from Pred, and Matt gets the job done. 2 versus 6. Pred went ridiculous, honestly, towards the end of this game, so at least it did give some confidence. They could maybe bring something back in the series. That's not how it went out, though, because the game 4, I honestly thought Seattle were going to win this, but Camp still had 54 kills. There was a point where he was like 47 and like 28 or something, and the game was tied. I was like, okay, hang on a second. Is this guy going to drop 50 for the L? This is the most kills we have seen in CDL history, to my knowledge. I believe Simp had the record of like 50, 51, 52, something like that, back on the Azir Cave in Modern Warfare. Last year, no one got anywhere near, and yeah, it was only a matter of time until someone got a 50 involved with this map, to be honest. But well, it happens right here with Capsule. Like, I mean, he was honestly continuing to fry until all the way to the end of the game. Pretty insane. That helps them close out the series. One of the highest kill counts in Call of Duty history, actually. The record, I believe, is illegal with 62 way back in Black Ops 3 on Fringe Hardpoint. I'm pretty sure that Formal had maybe 60 or 58 or something very high 50s, low 60s back in Advanced Warfare also. TJ, I believe, dropped 58 on London Docks in World War II. So, I mean, yeah, this isn't really too far behind that. Slasher, I believe, also had 55 in World War II. But yeah, this is a pretty remarkable statistic. 54 in 31. Nero kind of, well, 30 and 47. I think he was saying that in terms of eliminations on the scoreboards, he was doing pretty well. Didn't translate into kills, but there we go. The final series stats. Pred minus 15. Like, I mean, Sib kind of had a decent series, but not a 1.4 series. And yeah, on the other side, Capsule especially and TJ Halley, both with 100 kills. But yeah, 1.5. Casual stuff, but TJ really turned up this series as well. Picked up the slack, certainly, that Nero was leaving behind, at least in the same department. So Seattle's still in the bin. What do they have to do to turn their team around? That is another big question as well, because I mean, I honestly thought this week they might bounce back to some degree. Hasn't happened so far. They do not have the easiest schedule ahead of them either. Like, yeah, big questions there as to how significantly they've fallen off, whether something needs to change, because I honestly felt coming into this year that they might need one change to become a contender. The problem is, at least from my perspective, they were a contender at the start of the year, so now they're thinking, well, we were there, like, you know, what do we have to do to get back there? Was maybe a change is needed at some point or another. Speaking of teams that might need changes very quickly indeed, Mutineers played today up against the Los Angeles Guerrillas, and this was a quick 3-0 to be honest. It saved the sleep schedule in the European sides. Bacage was game 1. This generally is Mutineers' playground, right? I'm surprised Los Angeles Guerrillas went for it, to be honest, just because Mutineers, they're such an unstructured team that has no idea what they're doing half the time, that this is a perfect map for them, right? Just spawn up, hit the hill, get the kills. That works for Mutineers pretty well with the talent they have. They win the game 1. Game 2 is pretty ridiculous here on Tuscan Search and Destroy. Vivid was going off on the main stage at the start of the game. He had 2 aces, like back to back pretty much at the start of this game. Like, Vivid was just out of control, to be honest. He was just finessing all the way around the map. Then in the end, in fairness to Los Angeles Guerrillas, they put up some sort of a fight. They made something of a comeback. Gunless gets cut down by Vivid again here at the end of the round to complete his second ace of the game. And then the very following round, there was this round, which Vivid eventually gets shut down after going on like a 6 streak. Danfani finds himself in a 1 versus 2, gets the first kill. Sasha comes for the trade, picks up the sniper over the well, gets the second kill as well. Beautiful 1 versus 2 to cap off an incredible round. That was 5-1. You feel like LAG are just done for mentally at that point. They bring it back all the way to 5-5 and still lose the game. And Los Angeles Guerrillas, their control has been nowhere near where it needs to be. They lose a defense here to the Mutineers, and that really helps Mutineers close out the series in a 3-0 fashion. They got 3-0'd by Minnesota in the final round of the losers bracket at the major after getting 3-2 by London in winners. Now they've got 3-0 again by the Mutineers. Does not bode well at all for this team. Roster changes may be coming all across the board. I said earlier today that I expect potentially some sort of switch to happen between New York and Los Angeles Guerrillas come the end of Stage 2 Major. Like, well, maybe that'll come true, who knows. Final series stats look like this. Very much intriguing your thoughts in the comment section below. Lots I'm sure to discuss here in the coming days and tomorrow also. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hitting the like button tells your YouTube gods this is a good video. Others like you should see it as well. And help grow the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you as always. Take care. And I will see you next time.